definitely be down to do
to my Instagram.
What do you want to tell Joe Biden right
and then
now?
what we'll do is when we do the banners.
Take me out to dinner. Hey, yo.
And just got an awesome face paint job. What do you think?
I like turtles.
I'm sorry,
Gonna make a deal with this diabolical bitch.
Why you saying no more?
If you're bad.
We are here live at the world premiere of Justice League.
This is
The Justice League.
Yes, yes, yes. It looks like we are back. I gotta wait till our little screen pops off. Our little intro is still running here, so
Yeah, we got to share a little bit, guys. Everybody that's in here, please go share this real quick. Make sure you get it to your friends, family members, anybody that you think would like the show.
And we are back again with another episode of the Just Us League podcast show. And we have a illustrious guest. He's not really a guest anymore. He's clearly clearly a host with us. He's he's a satellite host of this show. Is that okay? Can you
That's a great title.
We can just
I like
have you
that.
as satellite
I
host,
like
right?
that, man, that's perfect.
So this is quickly turning into not a 3-man deal, but a 4-man deal. So which I'm okay with. So
I like what you guys are doing, man, and it's truly one of the only podcasts in Billings really doing it. I was talking to Prince the other day, and there has been some actually like high quality podcasts that have popped up over the last 2-3 years. There's a few particular ones on my mind I won't name, but the problem is they don't make it past like 5 or 10 episodes, and they just lose traction over time, which you guys are gaining traction already, which is incredible.
It's, I mean, and this with your Tops business, and this is just with any business. They always, tell you it takes, it can take up to 5 years before you even make a profit. So you have to really be in it from the beginning in what I call the muck years before it'll really even flip. Now we've been lucky and we started to gain traction or whatever. But in my mind, I'm thinking episode 100, 200, something like that before we really, really, really start to gain some traction where people know that we're going to be here every week and they can depend on it. And, they're not going to invest in something that's going to be gone next week.
See, what I love about what you just said more than anything is the idea of managing expectations for oneself in any business venture, in any podcast, really anything. It's so important to manage your expectations. And I learned that early on is 2017, it was just all up for Top Sandwich Company. I actually was looking at some screenshots. Just the sales were going crazy at the time, and my expectations were so high. I was convinced I was going to be a millionaire very soon.
Right.
And then when it didn't happen that way, I was crushed, and
Right.
I felt like a failure. So as I opened more stores over time and doing the radio stuff, I've just managed expectations a whole lot better because it's about the long game. If you get so discouraged that you can't keep going, that's the biggest problem of all.
Yes. Yes.
You're better to manage expectations.
You're absolutely right with that. I can even, tell you, Tucker, when I started to promote, it was a similar experience. You come out of the gate, you have a couple of great shows, and then there's this, Connor can speak to this too. There's this plateauing to where your business, it's not like
to see you, man.
It's not like your business is losing, but it ain't really gaining either at the pace that you want it, right?
Totally.
And there's a frustration with it. You start to question yourself or whatever and sometimes you don't realize the fact that you can do this is the only way that you're not going to win is if you stop. Eventually, if you can stick in it and keep pushing it, it will bend for you at some point. It just will.
The biggest fear for any entrepreneur out there, and this is real. I mean, if you are in business for yourself. Think about this for a second. The biggest fear is putting your entire body of work, your life's work into something and getting nothing out on the back end, though. And that's typically when people lose steam over time is they're putting in all this work. It does plateau for a period of time. And at that point, they're starting to wonder, am I going to exit with nothing? And that's a scary thing. It's,
Oh
it's
yeah.
all a waste of time. And
Well, am I a fool? And that's it. Boils down to none of us really want to be a fool. Relationships, business, whatever. That you don't want to look like a moron in it. Like that's in there, right? And at some point, like you said, you're like, am I an idiot? Like, is there going to be egg all over my face when this thing is done or whatever? And there's a lot of self doubt that you have to fight through to continue on the path and trust the process. Like you hear that, like the NBA teams, they're like trust the process.
all the time,
You
yeah.
acquire these draft picks, you draft well, and then over
76ers.
time, yes, over
It didn't
time,
pan out though for them.
and we're going to talk about that because
Interested to
there's a
hear.
particular reason why I think that didn't work.
Yeah.
Right? I some of it has to be like there's system. There's some
Jahlil
things
Parker. I
that,
mean, some of these guys were great.
and I honestly think it wasn't talent; it was system.
Yeah.
I don't think I think that you can get as much talent as, and this is business too. If you don't have a proper system for your talent, you can't win.
But not even just system. Sometimes you can have the perfect system, perfect people, perfect everything, but you're just in the wrong lane. Like
That
there's
is true.
certain like
Yeah.
market makers, the idea of being in the right market. And if you're in the wrong market, you're just gonna be battling uphill. And that is what drives people crazy. You originally were touching on the idea of the public perception of
Right.
failure, which that's a big deal too. But a lot of the times the anxiety revolves around seeing people that have been doing, whether it's a podcast, a business, a restaurant, seeing people that have been doing things for a long period of time, 15, 20 years. Bin 119 actually just sold to Nick Steen over the
I
last
seen
few
that.
days from
I did
Walker's.
see that. Yeah.
And the first thing that comes to my mind is, man, I hope they got some money for that because they had been doing it since 2008.
They put so much into it.
They put their entire lives
They
into
put so
it.
much into it, and kudos to those guys. That's there's a couple of businesses around town too. I know I see with the loft going out,
Yeah.
not doing it. And this too. It is so hard to maintain a business. Starting one is one thing. Maintaining it is a completely different animal, right?
And maintaining to exit, like if you build for so long, I mean, it takes real skill to exit the right way and exit with something to show for it. And that's a very scary thing if you're doing something 10, 15, 20 years is I've seen plenty, if you look businesses for sale right now in Billings, Montana, you will see anything that doesn't have a license or real estate attached for sale for under 250,000. I mean, I haven't seen anything sell for over 500,000, or if it has, very rarely. So a lot of times it's 20 years in the making to sell for, you see some that are listed for 90 grand.
Yeah.
And that you're going to pay taxes on that and end up walking with like 30 grand for 20 years of time. That's a scary thing.
And another thing I see happening in our market with some of these businesses being sold is that really what the value of the business is? And I know a lot of time they say the market determines what the value is.
True.
But there's always a caveat with that because there was COVID threw so many things out of whack.
Mm-hmm.
I just think there's so much overvalued stuff.
True.
And you don't really know what's overvalued and what's not because as we were just saying, the market sets the value, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know, but there's always a course correction, and we just haven't really seen it yet, right? So I'm wondering, you see some of these businesses. I think I don't know. I heard a rumor, and I don't know if this is so. This is just take this with a grain of salt. That for what the loft is asking for the building and for the liquor license, it's somewhere close to $4 million.
Yeah, and everyone always overvalues.
I
their
don't
business.
know if it's. I can't see that.
If it is, it'll sell. And it'll probably sell in
Right.
the first, hopefully, 3 to 6 months. If it doesn't, then it's definitely not worth that.
And then and that's I think that's a good litmus test right there. If it sells kind of quickly, you probably have the right value. If that thing sits on the market, it's not valued
And
correctly.
I believe the liquor license that they have, they are going for $900,000 to $1 million. I think that's a full
what I heard.
gaming and liquor license. So that's
Right.
$1 million of the 4. The building, depending on how big it is,
I can't.
maybe
Maybe
3
right?
million.
Yeah, I don't know
know
though,
about
right?
that.
I don't know.
I feel
if
like it's older, so probably under 2 million. So it's probably $1 million overpriced, potentially.
So
right.
get me caught up, guys. I was making sure everything was good. Everything looks good and sounds good. Get me caught up on where we are at in the conversation, and I'll hop in
Yeah.
with you guys.
What up, Prince?
I want to
Hang
give
on,
a shout
sorry,
out. I
guys.
see some folks in our comment section. I want to give a big shout out to Leif, Mr. Wallhaven. Like
Shout out to
he
Leif.
consistently watches the show,
yeah.
so we want to give him a shout out. For his show, Kicking It with Leif. You guys check that out or whatever. And I don't know if you caught the last episode. I think maybe because of the way that we were unceremoniously let go, or how that the deterioration of the relationship with Radio Billings and Hot 1019.
Right.
Sometimes with some of that frustration, you forget that there are very real relationships that we develop.
And there's people that we love at the radio.
Right.
You know what I mean?
I want to simultaneously promote the people.
Yeah.
And I can feel whatever I feel
And
about
really,
anything
like,
else.
all that stuff that went down when the transition happened, I mean, none of that really had to do with anyone that's still there.
That's
Right.
true.
For the most part. Maybe
That's true.
they were in a particular situation. There's some decisions made by the particular crew, but I don't think there's any blame to be placed. Everyone gets put in a position
Right.
and has to make hard decisions. And Leif's done a great job with this show, man. He
really has.
He's all in on it, obviously.
He's been kicking ass, and I
And
really appreciate what he's been doing.
Leif's been doing an amazing job with the show, but you guys did do an amazing job with the
Thanks,
show.
man.
I really
So
learned a
let's-
lot this week hanging out
Yeah,
with you
but
guys.
let's
Let's
gotta
shout him
sit
out.
in,
So
man.
we got to shout out your show too, Tuck. So
yeah. 94.1 K Sky is the limit on it's called The Vibe, 2 to 4 Monday through Friday. So we do 2 hours a day, Monday through Friday, and we've been doing it for about 2 years now. It's fairly intense, over 2 years, I think.
Yeah,
We started
yeah.
April 2022, so actually we're coming up on 2 years.
right.
But yeah, it's a grind, man. If you can show up for 2 hours every day and talk, it's a big burden. But
No, and you guys are really smooth. All the transitions are really smooth. You guys
Right.
are running that shit.
I love it, man. Yeah, I was super pumped. So Prince got to sit in on a few of our shows, and I think he's going to come be a part of it more often. And it's good energy having you there, man.
It's good.
It's fun.
Not only is it good energy, it's there's this media tree that we're on, and you just add a branch
So true.
of
So true.
he'll go off one day and he'll do whatever he does or whatever, and we promote advancement and
Right.
you being able to spread your wings, and whatever your limitation is, you figure that out in your own way, and we all have different aspirations. So
And what Tucker and Tribe brought up was a really good point when I first went in there, that this would be a really good learning experience, and it would help me, learn to talk more. I would learn the boards, kind of learning how everything works behind the scenes,
Yeah.
so I can add to my resume as a producer.
100%.
You
man.
know-
It's audio engineering technically in that studio is what you're doing. So that's a big gain. But I will say one thing on the podcast side of things compared to radio is there is more longevity probably in podcasting, because there's like equity built through subscriptions, follows. You guys have
Right.
10,000 followers right now. So let's give that a round of applause. Yeah. First month
Golf
or two,
clap
yeah.
for the motherfucking pod.
That's pretty good, man. And when you're building that up, you don't really lose. There's no attrition of followers. That's built over time, and it stays, and the bigger it
Right.
is, the more advertisers you can get on, and also the more eyeballs you're going to have week after week after week. So that's a beautiful thing. Nice thing about radios is you're tapping into thousands of people daily, which that's
right,
amazing.
and they're there for you already.
Exactly, but it doesn't live forever. It's not like a royalty check like you could get in time from podcasting. Those are like eventually where you want to get it to is every podcast you put out is like buying a rental property, and it pays forever as long as you own it.
Well, this is a great transition because we have some news that we need to
let's
announce
get
on
into
the
it.
show.
Let's
So
hear it, man.
the Just Us League podcast show has its official sponsor of the show. And the official sponsor is Hensel Law.
All right.
I want to. We got to give Hensel Law,
Yeah,
Craig
Hensel Law,
Hensel,
man.
a nice little golf clap. I appreciate them taking the plunge and believing in what we do. And Craig came in and did the show, and he just liked the setup. He liked it a lot. He felt it was, we were freer. We were able to do a lot more things than we did the last time we had seen him, and he felt that, yeah, there's potential to do. You guys are just kind of scratching the surface. There's some really cool things that you'll probably do in the future. And he decided that he and his entity wanted to be a part of that. So I want to give him a huge shout out for doing that for
And
the
he
for the
does
podcast.
the injury law, correct?
Yes, personal injury.
And I like the idea too, since he got in early and you believed early on, I think you should lock him at the same rate forever, no matter what happens.
He 100%
Yeah.
is. He gave us he was very generous. I'll say that. He was a quite generous sponsor.
Awesome.
So
that's hard to do. Really hard to do.
It's very, very hard to do on a new platform that you don't have anything to lean on. One of the things that when we were doing advertising, when we had the Wilburn show, and you could attest to this, Tucker, is we were already building on an entity that already had been there, that we were a part of, that already had advertising. So a lot of people that did advertising, it was a no-brainer because they had already did some semblance of advertising within the sphere. This, on the other hand, is it's a new kind of a thing of how we're trying to advertise and what we're trying to do. We're trying to use elements of radio with this, and then expand how we advertise and why that's of value to your business.
Yeah,
if you so choose to deal with us.
Yeah, and the nice thing about podcasting is you own 100% of it, so you're not getting a small piece of the revenue coming in.
Yeah, we're not
You're
passing
getting the
it on
lion's
to
share,
a owner.
and you can reinvest it. You can do what you need to with it. That's super important.
So we have a pretty good pact. I don't know if Tribe and Micah want me saying this, but I will.
Just so you guys know, my name is not Micah.
Yeah.
Oh,
I was
sorry.
gonna say, who's Micah, man?
My bad, Prince. I was thinking the business side of it. I'm sorry.
You're good.
Prince, Tribe, and myself, we agreed that every penny that we take in for the next 2 years will not be spent.
Going back into the
That's smart.
It is, but not really. It's going back into the business. We are not touching it personally.
No, we're personally not touching it.
Let's
They'll obviously be, because you may need new mics or whatever, and some of that will be allocated. But majority of any advertising dollar that we are able to acquire, we will not take anything for 2 years.
Cash pool, baby.
That's huge, man. And let's talk about how to spend the money. How do you reinvest your money into a podcast? What's more important? Is it? I would imagine that pre-roll ads would be valuable on YouTube because you can build subscribership.
But you don't have to spend for pre-roll ads. Let's keep that in mind.
What do you mean?
And for pre-roll ads, once you hit a certain number, you can automatically put them on your channel.
I'm saying like you guys buying pre-rolls
right
as
away.
an ad product
for
to build
us.
your subscribership.
We 100% will be doing that. That's a great vehicle to be able to do.
One thing we're looking at right now, actually, we're looking at getting Tribe and I were looking at it at the show, actually, is getting a mobile hotspot, so our Wi-Fi is a little better.
Huge.
Because that's kind of what's causing our quality to look a little different than exactly what we want.
I will say, if the quality is what it is here, it's pretty good.
It's not. This is what it should look like, and then this is what we're looking like exactly.
It seems like it's gotten a little better, though.
It has.
And the reason why it's gotten better is it's just, with internet, it's the day.
It just depends.
It just depends. I mean, you may have 300 MBS one day, or 600. Then I'm really always confused on how they come up with the speed, and how I'm not sure that's not monkeyed around with.
I think it's how many are on.
Right?
It is monkeyed around with a little bit, because they're trying to get you to spend more for the faster internet. But right now, I think what's happening is so many people are using the same bandwidth.
Right.
And that's like last week when we were really having internet problems. That was our thing, was the bandwidth.
Got
Right.
you.
Right.
Internet is key. I think a lot of videographers probably drove themselves crazy over the years trying to upgrade video equipment and upgrade video equipment, not realizing that it was all the internet the
It
whole
was. It
time.
wasn't ever the equipment. It was. Yeah. So that's we're handicapped in that is there's not a lot we can do. I mean, we can get better equipment or whatever, but we're still bound by the
Whatever
feed
speed we can run
that
at.
it's going off. So there's not really much you can do it. That may be maybe the biggest drawback of podcasting with a video that you don't deal with in radio because you don't have to deal with
But
that
working with
aspect.
working with sponsors, that's also going to be our biggest step forward ahead of the competition that we're working against, because we're going to be able to fix that here soon.
That's huge.
And I think, honestly, I think at some point they need to change to TDS.
You think so?
Oh, when that goes online, you got to change to that.
Is TDS moving a little faster?
No,
But not as many people are using
moving
it.
like snails. If you know anybody that's actually had TDS, it's it's worth its price of admission. They'll
Right.
tell you that immediately. Like,
'Cause it's
yeah,
faster?
it's fiber optic. Yeah,
Oh,
it's
got
it's a lot faster. And I don't even necessarily the speed is not. It's the consistency of the speed and
Right.
and its delivery.
It's not
system.
fluctuating.
No, it doesn't flux, and that's really the difference in it when you're dealing with that in cable or
What are you
Spectrum.
running right now? What are you guys running?
I run Spectrum,
Yeah, I'm on Spectrum.
Too. I think everyone in Billings is pretty much on Spectrum.
but
My-
I'm on
my
I'm on the
biggest
I'm on the
pain-
wait list for TDS.
My
Like,
biggest pain
I'm
with
jumping as soon
Spectrum-
as they're done.
My biggest pain with Spectrum right now is how often my internet is down.
That's true. That happens a lot.
Because
man.
I know it shouldn't take that long to get it back up. And so I'm sitting there as a customer. I'm paying extra for fast internet because I'm running a studio. I'm sure you pay for fast internet because you're running a business.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? So I'm always wondering why it's down and why I'm paying extra if I can't even use it for a good portion of what I'm paying for.
And you're paying just for the base level package now. It seems like after
Yeah.
and the thing is they run these promotions. We'll do $50 for 3 months or whatever. Well, that to me, I don't even look at that. I look at what it's going to be when all of that promotional crap is done, and
Is
that thing's
done.
over $100.
That's
For
what
internet.
happened to me this year. My plan switched in at the beginning of March, actually. So the beginning of, is that this month? Just switched, and it was 85 a month, and now it's 110.
Wow, that's crazy. That's a big jump.
Yeah.
We should talk a little bit about career paths and the path to success, because I feel like the three of us all have very different ways we're going about it. I feel like Fred, you got the high income earning W-2 that then you can reinvest into some
Right.
side hustles here and there. I'm
Yes.
kind of all in on the business operations, and I think Prince is more building like intellectual property.
Yep.
In a way.
Yes.
So what are the advantages of the route you're
So
going? I've seen a lot over the years.
So I can tell you the advantage that I think the advantage, because I've been on both sides of this as in my younger days, just on the promoting side and having a lot of my income come from the promotional side, right? Once I got into the refining element and a high wage refinery element positions, what I realized is the word, and somebody had told me this, backstop. Backstop may be your most important thing when you're building a business. People would say, what's a backstop? Backstop is your ability to operate no matter what the business does through your lulls, right? Because of my wage and what I do and what I've done with some of that over the years, it allows me to where if there's lean, I can do what I need to do on my other side to compensate in certain areas to allow us to function. It'll be one of the things with this podcast, and I've used it to a semblance already, that as we're building clientele, the ship will run steady until we get to a certain point as far as buying equipment or whatever.
Yeah, then we got to build.
That's still a low overhead to me in comparison to what I make a year. So the backstop element I think is very important. It's like when, if you start a business or whatever, you don't want to spend $50,000 to build your business and then expect clients to come into the door. you need to have a bit of a backstop to, allow you to be able to build it, and you got to pay your bills and power and all these other things that you're going to have to pay. So you need a little nest egg in there for whatever amount of time. It varies between people. You'll have some people that say, well, you need about 2 years. You'll have some people that say you can get up to 5. It's
Mm-hmm.
5 years in safety cash.
yeah, and it's
There's
safety
very
stuff
few
is
people that keep
that can
that around,
that can
man.
even, and you're right, they can do that. But
I can barely get to half a year. So
That's
you,
good though.
you
6
try to
months
you
is
try to
good.
do that as much as you can, and then it allows you to move. And I did a semblance of that too when I was promoting. I knew that I could probably take a risk here or a risk there that maybe somebody in a different position wouldn't have been able to take, because I knew I could make it up, and I had this on the other end of it.
Yeah.
So that helps out greatly, and especially when you have a family and you have obligations and things with your family, that if you make a mistake over here and this is your only thing, it doesn't just affect you.
It affects
It
everyone.
affects
Right.
everybody. So if you have this stuff over here and this stuff is already taken care of over here, it allows you to be able to play on the canvas a little bit more.
Yeah.
And um you know this, Tuck, you never want to be in a position where you feel like you're forced to make moves, as opposed to being able to
hmm
logically think about your moves and then operate
and
based
freely
on
move with the
the
move with what's
logic.
going on.
Because once circumstance starts to move you, you're inevitably going to probably get into a bad move, because that's not really what your move that you
hmm
probably should be doing or what you want to do. You're moving based on circumstance. I gotta do this or whatever, so I can't do this. We can't buy new equipment. We can't do this. We can't do this because
Cash.
yes. So
Yeah, making cash press decisions is always tough, especially when you're running a business, because sometimes when businesses are struggling, they'll choose to lower their portions or cut the marketing budget. And these things are like cash driven decisions that are not the best long term decision, but it feels like that in the time. I've seen that happen a lot. Prince, how did you get into producing? Like, where did it start for you? Did you ever see yourself doing this full time? You do it full time.
Yeah.
And what's the long game with it?
So I definitely saw myself doing it full time. I didn't know if I was going to be doing like production originally, because when I was a little kid, like you guys know, I've learned all the instruments early on, and so I was really making music. I wanted to do rock. That was all I was really listening to, was rock, and then got into some R&B and started listening to R&B. That's probably around 10, 11 is when I was listening to R&B, and then I got into rap and decided I was going to start making my own music. And there were some artists in town. Preston Wayne was a big artist in town at the time. Birdwell was a big artist. Connor was pushing those artists, and I had been friends with Connor since I moved to Billings. So Connor took me into those studios originally as an artist. He wanted me to record there, but I didn't have any money of my own. I was like 13 years old. And so
13 at the time?
yeah, Connor had me in there listening to stuff at
How old
13,
was
14.
Connor then?
Connor is, I think, 3 to 4 years older than me. So he
Wow.
was.
That's
You-
crazy.
you-
Prince is young, man.
he is, and I want to just deviate just a small. I think Connor really doesn't get his credit in circles for what he actually did, and I've been trying to really think about like what makes Connor unique. And
Somebody tag Connor for us.
his thumbprint. What he did, I think, is he professionalized the music industry out here.
Yeah.
That's
No,
actually
definitely.
what he did.
Big time.
And there are other guys that'll say it wasn't. Connor is the one that made his artist have to operate a certain way, and shows have to operate a certain
And he made them
way.
act with a certain
And
level of responsibility.
yes, and they had to invest in the product, which invested in themselves, which is artists selling tickets. There's a high level of professionalism that these newer artists exhibit that comes from the Connor machine that he doesn't get credit for. And me, as an older guy and used to do it, it's very hard for older guys to give younger guys credit when it comes to that.
Yeah, you see that
You
a
know,
lot.
and the issue that we have is there was no real template. There was no real template when we came in, so we're like, well, that's not fair.
And he
They
laid
got
that
they
out.
got the opportunity to watch our mistakes and
Mhm.
successes, and then build off of that. that is garbage. That doesn't matter.
Well, no, that is true though.
And this
Everybody
is why
did see those mistakes,
this
but
this is
yeah,
why though.
bring it in. I see what you're doing. Yep.
This is why I think that's garbage, is because what Connor did could have been done by any of these other people
Exactly.
too, right?
But I think he learned from your guys' mistakes and
He
learned from
he
the shows
100%
before
did.
it. But
Oh yeah.
he'll when he tells the story, and we should get him on at some point.
Yeah, that'd
Yeah.
be dope.
But when he tells the story, he talks about those first one sec, guys. He talks about those first couple shows he did as did he do them as extrinsic back then? When he
What?
did the parties, the under not
No,
underage
I
parties,
don't-
but
I
they were
don't
the
think the
parties for
I
all
first-
think that
ages.
was extrinsic,
Was it?
right?
I think
'Cause
it was
a shirt-
extrinsic,
It
and
was a shirt company in high school.
yes, that's
Okay,
what I was
yeah,
gonna say.
yeah,
And
yeah.
he always talked about those shows. The first one was iffy, but he made money, so he did it again. And he was worried about the risk on those. But as they started taking off, he was learning from those first ones what wasn't working, what was working, and he was able to move that on to artist shows and then on to teaching artists how to move their career forward with just knowledge of his business. And I've learned stuff like that from you guys. I've learned that from Tribe on many different occasions. Nastiness, I've learned that from Chris. I've even learned it from Chaz. I've learned it from a lot of different people that music is just business. So if you can take what other people have learned in business, which Connor is teaching almost every single artist out here right now, is treat yourself as a business entity. And so people are starting to take it serious now. I can make money off this. If I do good enough at a show, I can sell enough merch to make money off the show. There's stuff that Connor did that a lot of people were doing before, but they weren't doing it at the level that he's teaching new artists to do it.
It wasn't in the framework of the building, right?
Right.
It was back alley, down the street.
Yeah.
It's kind of all over the place. Connor's the one that put it in the corporate building,
Right.
And then there were levels going up the building, and the higher up the building you got to the executive suites. But he let his artists know you got to start in the mailroom, and they would move their way up, and you would see these artists that when they performed, they were more professional. He would run them through these things to where they would have to.
He had rehearsals once a week.
They'd have to impress
Twice a week.
him to be on the show.
Yeah.
Which, as a promoter, you're thinking, of course, you have guys that'll come up and say, hey, I want to be on the show, I'm this and that or whatever. Well, that doesn't really hold value. That really doesn't hold value other than to you.
The value is a good word. I think he forces artists to prove their worth, prove their value.
Right.
If you want me to pay for a show, which Connor has done, he's paid people for shows. But if you want me to pay you for a show, you need to show that you can bring in the tickets.
I think that's fair though. That's
super fair.
I don't understand why people scoff at that, right? There's an arrogance in the scoffing at that, and I think the blindness to how business actually works. If you come in and demand anything that you cannot back up the value of your demand based on past stuff, right? To where if I'm saying, Tucker, I want to, do this show, but I need $1,000, right? Naturally, I would assume that you're going to look at the show and what you're going to spend for it, what you could potentially make, take my $1,000 and then break that down into a numbers game of how many people that would be if I pay you that. And then you would make, I think, the logical, guesstimate, which is that person going to bring that number in? And you're going to base it on what that person's been doing already, right? Like, if you need to bring in $100 or 100 people that equates to what you're being paid, well, you should have been bringing in 100 people there should be somebody we can go say, and oh yeah, that guy brings in 100 people every time he performs, or 200 or whatever. It can't be based on what I think I'm worth, right?
Right.
The market sets that, you don't.
Very true, man. And I think a lot of people get it wrong about that. That's the same thing if you're going to ask your boss for a raise or something. If you're not adding enough value, we were making we were talking about the auto worker strike and they ended up with like 26% more pay. And guess this, Fred, what do you think is the most inflated thing in America right now? The highest inflation category?
I would assume food or cars.
You're close. So the raise of the auto workers was 25%,
Mm-hmm.
and the inflation on insurance right now is exactly 21%, and it's leading the inflationary like levers. And that's because, to pay those extra wages, what happens is the body shops charge more. Everything charges more, and it
Right.
passes down to the end user that's paying for insurance.
That's right. It's the
So
cost
it's
of living.
circular.
That's
And
right. It's the cost of living
I did
offset.
want
Like,
to talk about a couple more things we talked about on the show. But to get back to what we were doing, we'll get
Yeah,
into
yeah,
that. We'll talk
yeah.
because there was a couple really good conversations. I want to talk about the California thing today.
Yeah.
Actually, both California things.
Those
And
are
you're the
Cash
one
Night
that's gonna
loves those
you're
things.
gonna be one of the ones that's knowledgeable on it. I did a little bit of research to make sure I was good to go. But where I was saying that Connor taught me originally, I could not pay for studio time, and so because my parents didn't want to do that. So what my parents did is they bought me a studio, and Connor would allow me to come in and watch his engineers and learn how they worked. And so I learned how to work, and then I had been doing that since I started engineering when I was 14. I had been doing that for probably 4 years, and I started for a couple other artists like in that time, but it was free. And my girl eventually said, "You should start making money. Maddie, Maddie."
Mhm.
She said you should start making money off this and make it your job because I wasn't good then. I was getting decent. So at 18, I started doing it kind of under the table work for a lot of artists and just editing everything. I wasn't making beats back then. It was all editing. And then 2 years ago, it might be three now. No, 2 years ago, I've only done 2 tax returns. So 2 years ago, I started Locket Studios officially. And I think once I made it official, because we're talking about where we plan on going and where we kind of how we started our business. When I made it official, it was because I was doing landscaping for 12 hours a day and then studio on top for another 4 to 6. And so it was getting to where I wasn't like sleeping much, but I was still trying to put out the best product and I couldn't. And
Right.
so what I did is I talked to my landscaping boss, super awesome, John at Horizon Landscaping, and I still work there. He has allowed me anytime I need to do studio work. That is my main focus. I'm allowed to leave and do studio work. So I was able to make that my full-time business. I can work shorter days, make more money, and still build my business, I guess. But now answering how I'm going to build it in the future and where I see it going, I see myself being hopefully one of the biggest producers, engineers in the Northwest region. But
which is attainable.
Yeah. I think it is, and I know for a fact from the sound and the numbers that I'm one of the top in Montana. Not boosting my own head. We work off numbers around here.
Do you know like top 3
Yes.
producers in Montana?
Yeah, I could say.
Do you know how much they're making, kind of thing?
The 2 top are making probably close to 100 to 120,000 a year based on their rates because they're charging around 100 a song or 100 an hour, which is really good money. Right now, I'm making right under that because I charge 40 an hour, so it's a lot less, but I'm getting substantial amounts more work.
Yeah, you're getting traction in the early days. That's a big deal. We talked about on the show on Friday as well. As when you're first starting a business, my friend Cash Daddy was telling me that one of the biggest mistakes is actually or undervaluing the product, because there's a lot of people that come in, they'll cut the market, like especially
That's exactly what they do. They come right in and cut the market.
lawn mowing is that way. You'll get a cousin Billy that starts up a lawn mowing business and he undercuts every single professional that has a bunch of overhead and debt. And Kasha is making the argument that you should not do that. You should not come in and cut everything. You should set it reasonable. But I think the opposite, actually, Prince, and I made that argument. So with what you're doing, you want to get market share. When things are not where you want them to be, you have to not only be competitive, but you have to be winning in quality, price, pretty much everything. Like if you're not doing that, it's to be very hard in a competitive marketplace to get some traction. So that's one of the tried and true ways of winning is build the community of people that are driving your revenue at
Right.
first by giving them the best product for the most reasonable price in the marketplace. And then over time, once you get too busy and you don't have enough time on your hands, that's when you can start dragging prices up, and you will lose some customers over that. But that's
100%.
okay, because you're too busy as it is.
And they also weren't. If those are the customers you're losing, especially in the music industry, those are probably not the ones that you were supposed to be working with.
Those are the ones that are trying to get a beat fronted.
Yeah. Oh, I fucking hate that. I really don't hate that, because I do it, and I do it on my terms. So if I want to offer you a beat, take the beat, and then you can pay later. It's whatever.
The problem with that is it's the expectation factor.
Yeah,
that's really the problem. Is
you've been doing music too.
Me to do it, right? If I give it to you, that's one thing. If you expect that I need to give it to you, that's something else, because this is a business. I don't get to go walk into Buick or Honda or say, I expect you to give me a Honda or a Subaru or something.
Yeah,
like,
most people don't.
we
know
actually
we
don't
feed our families.
I don't get to walk into the grocery store and say, you know what, I expect to get hamburger and just start taking stuff out of the store. It doesn't work that way.
We got a different example. We got Brian Marks in the chat, who is a legendary car dealer here in Billings. So we'll use the Marks dealership. You don't walk in there and ask him to front you a car.
You just
It wouldn't make sense. That sounds crazy.
We all know it's crazy, right? Like we all understand the fact of that being how we're going to walk in the business. We would say nobody would ever do that. Music is one of the unique businesses where that expectation is normalized.
Yeah.
You need to give the person something, and you should be thankful you could give it to them. I think that's how they view that.
I think that comes from a lot of these artists aren't really making money off their music.
So you lend them a beat
I hate to
and they
say
don't
that.
return
I
it.
hate to say that. A lot of my, but it's. So what they're thinking is you're probably not making that much money either, right? So, in my mind, I'm thinking they don't actually know I'm feeding my family off this. That money that you give me for the beat is what I feed my family with. You go to work, you don't expect to work 4 hours and not get paid. You know what I mean? You expect to go there, work hard, get paid what you're worth, and then leave work.
Yeah,
that's how it ends.
That is the difference when you're in business for yourself, though. Is sometimes you put in a lot of work, not only not to make money, but sometimes you got to pay in.
You got to pay.
You got to, and there's something too. So, Tucker, you have tops. My cousin
Which we're going to talk about in a second.
My cousin does the chicken fingers and fries.
Okay,
I've
seen that.
So
you were supposed to bring me some.
I know, and we're working on that. I'm working on it. I'm slipping.
Income.
So we have family members that have an expectation they should get free food, right? And he was doing it, right? And I know it was affecting his bottom line.
Dude, you can't do that in the beginning.
And I was talking to him one time, and he'll tell you this story. If he comes on, he'll tell you this story. I said, if I support you the way I say, I'm the first one that should pay for it.
Yeah.
Right? There's a level of support. Like if you expect free stuff all the time, you do not support that business. You 100% don't. Anytime I go into Tops, I need to pay for food.
What did I say
That's the way it works.
The first time I came to see you at Tops, I said I'm coming to support my local sandwich shop.
Yeah, he did too, man. He showed up, and you've been eating Tops every day
bro, like a motherfucking animal, baby.
Love to hear that, man. That's amazing. Yeah, in the food business, when you're comping a meal, not only are you losing the revenue, but you're actually paying someone to eat your food, because there's a lot of built-in costs in that when you're giving it away for free, and it hurts the bottom line. Food trucks, that's a tough game already, so every
competitive,
if you do
cutthroat, all of that stuff.
Yeah, if you do like $125 in sales in a day, you can't give away a $7 item.
You can't give them the meals away. And he felt some type of way because he has a huge heart. And I told him, listen, they all pay. Friends, family, foes, and nobodies. They all pay.
It's just part of doing business.
They all pay. It don't matter. I don't care if they ask for free. If they ask me for free food, I'm charging them double.
That's a good way to go about it.
And the reason is because you have no respect for what I'm doing or
what I'm trying to build.
Children or any of the day-to-day stuff that you go through when you're trying to run a business that people don't know you go through, right? The least you could do is pay for a $7 to $10 meal.
Yeah.
You go to McDonald's and pay $12 and don't even think
Not
about
even
it.
12.
And
It's
don't
15 now
and
for the
don't
lowest
expect
meal.
McDonald's, and you don't expect McDonald's to give you free anything.
Nope.
They won't either.
And they won't. And
Yeah.
we're okay. That's how I know they're okay with it. Because if they go to Taco Bell, Burger King, McDonald's,
Mm-hmm.
anywhere, rib and chop, you're gonna pay face value for whatever's on that damn menu.
You're gonna pay
And
more
you
for
ain't
rib
gonna
and chop.
complain about it, right? So how dare you show up because of our relationship and try to leverage that as, well, we're family, so
Show me some
you
love.
should show me some love.
Why don't you show me
No,
some love?
It's not how that works.
Yeah, it's kind of awkward too when you don't have any customers. Then family comes in or friends come in, they expect something for free. You're like, man, I definitely cannot afford to do this right now because you're already going
Right.
backwards in a way.
But I did want to bring this. You're good. I wanted to bring this back to our. So we did Fred, then we did me. Our businesses, kind of where we plan on taking those in the next few years. Kind of, how did you? I know we talked this last time, but just kind of elaborate on what was going on in your life when you started Tops, and kind of where you see that going, like you asked us.
Yeah, for sure. So when I first started Tops, I mean, I knew I wanted to be in business my whole life. It was kind of instilled in me that way, but I didn't know what kind of business I wanted to be in, and I had no idea where to start. I didn't know what I wanted to sell, what kind of product I would do, or if it'd be a service business. And I was generally unskilled at the time. So I was going to school and bartending, and I knew I needed cash to start a business. So I was saving up some money, and the door just opened. There was a good opportunity to buy this business for pennies on the dollar called Spicy Pickle, which then we converted it to Tops in like a year and a half. And then about a year and a half later, we found some success. And at that time, I was like, man, I feel like I'm a genius. We're going to do 1,000 stores. You know, I
Right.
guarantee we'll do 1,000 stores. But then as you grow, you realize how hard it is. Technically, I've opened 5 stores if you include our kiosk location and then the one that we just moved this year.
Right, the new one.
And when you're doing things, it gives you a much greater respect for how difficult it is. So I manage expectations today, and I try to actually limit my expectations. I'm not saying anything at this point. I'm going to keep my eyes wide open, and where
Right.
the door opens, I'm going to go. And I do believe there's more stores coming with Tops for sure, but I'm not going to force it. I think forcing it doesn't make sense. I'm no longer, you know, a single guy with no kids. So when the time comes, it's going to be the right opportunity. And I do
Right.
think that time will come. It just doesn't seem to make sense for 2024 to do another store. We've done a store pretty much every other year. So I could see possibly in 2025. And if we get a franchise sold in the right city and that takes off, there is going to be a lot of momentum
because
working for us.
Tops is completely yours, right? It's
Yeah.
not a franchise yet. It's not any. It's your business right now. It's local, and eventually you do plan on growing it. But what you're saying is not right away.
Yeah, so I have 100% of Tops, and I created the logo, you know, and I created the business name, all the processes and procedures, and we are a franchise at this point, but I'm the franchisor, so
Mhm.
I just got myself all registered with this long, it's like 200-page federal disclosure document. Then you have operations manuals, and then you got to
Congrats on that,
register so
though.
you can sell
Yeah, congrats on that.
franchise. So I'm all set to go in to grow. It's just a matter of time, and I'm not going to force it because when
Mhm.
you're selling franchises, it's very tricky. If you feel like you're talking someone into buying a franchise and it doesn't go well, they're going to call later and say, "You talked me into this."
Do you ever think about losing quality maybe when you franchise? Because you can't be at all those stores when they're across the states.
So I changed the way I think about this a ton over the years. Originally, yeah, that is the thought. And that's very true when you have one store. Opening a second store could deteriorate quality unless you can level up and get better at oversight. And it's called multi-unit management. Like if you can get good at that, there's a way the quality doesn't have to go down. Will it go down maybe in the fact that I'm not making everyone's sandwich and they may come here just to see that?
Mhm.
Yeah, it's possible, but franchising is cool because not only do you have an owner on site all the time, but the owner that buys into the franchise is actually dumping a big amount of money on the front end to do business as Tops.
Right.
So they're invested, number one, and number two, they own 100% of that business. It's a type of licensing is what franchising is. So I feel like franchising, as long as you're vetting, if you make the wrong choices with people, just as choices with employees or musicians that you pick up, like sometimes you might make the wrong choices. The more stable you get, you will get more patient,
Right.
only taking what makes sense. And that's where I'm at, is I'm kind of in a patience zone where I'm not going to take the wrong one just to end up in a headache later. I'm very patient right now, and I know the door will probably open. We've been in business for about 9 years now, and when that door opens, it could happen very quickly, but it could also happen very quickly if I force it. But 3 years down the road, I might be in a little bit of a nightmare scenario,
Right.
and I don't want to give up time with my kids, quality of life, certain things like that. Like when it grows and it's right, I don't think you have to give that up forever. Maybe short term, but when you force something and you're in a tough situation, at that point, you could be giving up your freedom for a long time.
No,
Opening
definitely.
a business, sometimes people think it's a path to freedom, but it really is not. If you're in business operations, you're pretty much married to that business, and you are kind of a
Hmm.
slave to it. The real chance to monetize at a high level is when you exit the business.
That's what I was gonna say. From what I've heard, is the first 10 years, everyone wants it quick and whatever, but the first 10 years, you really are kind of stuck in the building. You're working.
100%. And as I if I wouldn't have opened 3 stores, I'd probably be making every sandwich still.
Oh yeah.
It's just so much more profitable to do it that way. But when you have multiple stores, if I was on the schedule daily at one store and something happened in another store, I wouldn't have the flexibility to move over there. So the only time I felt like it was right to grow store count is when I looked around. I had a good leadership team. I had, especially when we went from tops one to tops two at the time, we were busy from 9:30 in the morning all the way till 2 p.m., like nonstop, crazy busy, where we could afford to split the business a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you don't have good leadership, and a business is only as good as its people. So you really can't do multiple stores until you have very stable people around you that are
Hmm.
bought in, they plan on staying. And at that point, that's kind of, it's gotten me out of like working shifts. But I will say it's 7 days a week. I'm pretty much touching all 3 stores.
Yeah. When I message you, you're at the store. So
Yeah, either there or I spend a lot of time in my car going back and forth throughout the
and
stores.
and you do this interesting thing. I was gonna ask you about this. You
Yeah.
do this interesting thing. You call it people watching. You want to explain to me what that is?
Yeah. So people watching in general, in the way that I mean it, is I just like to watch the flow of things at the businesses, and I may do that through the cameras, or I may do that through the drive-through. Oftentimes, I'll park next to the drive-through speaker and crack my window down a little bit and just listen to the interactions. Is the interactions going good? Is there a solid flow? Are people moving in and out? Are you seeing anyone leave the drive-through, drive back up and walk in? Those are like red flags. So that's a lot of what I do, is I watch people throughout the day, and you can see how it's going just based on watching. So you almost have to watch. That's one of the downsides with 3 stores. You might not see me with gloves on making sandwiches a ton, but the level of awareness that is required at all times is crazy. But I think you can relate to that. It sounds like you were working this morning, you're on a podcast today, and you were working last night as well. So you're
Hmm.
probably going at it at least 6 days a week as well.
Yeah, definitely. Always trying to work. Always trying to build the brand. It's really it's kind of difficult with a lot of kids, and I mean,
We can
you
relate
got
on
kids.
that,
That's what I was
bro,
gonna
for
say. So
sure.
it's just it's juggling time is the big thing I'm kind of learning right now.
Time management is very difficult, and what I've found having kids in a business is it's going to be very hard to do the work-life balance. That may be different for, like, insurance people or people that have a little bit more, like, residual situation set up, but when you're in the restaurant business, for me anyways, you have customers walking in every single day, and it's make or break every single day of the week. So I've just been able to intertwine my work life and my personal life just into one, like, me spending time with my kids, I'm kind of trying to lead by example, but not that intentionally. It's
Mm-hmm.
just the way that I spend time with them. Oftentimes, as they're cruising around with me, they're going to work with me, just taking them out and about with me as I do things, so they can kind of get a feel for what does Daddy focus on day in and day out.
You know what? That's kind of cool that you do that, because obviously my kids are at home, so they'll come in the studio and like see what I'm working.
Yeah,
But after I'm done with work, we go on night drives and stuff, because I'm a heavy stoner. So
yeah.
I'll I'll go on a drive, listen to some music, and we'll go look around, and I always show them what I've been working on that day if I was landscaping. So this is the yard I did. I'll show them a picture. This is what it looked like before, and then we'll drive by and they can see what I had got done in one day's work.
That's super cool because I think that a lot of times I feel like when I was growing up, that was one issue I had is I just didn't fully understand what it took to be successful even at 18, 19, 20, 21 years old. Finally, around 21, I started figuring it out a little bit. And it's just this constant, nonstop focus. Uh, I didn't really understand what business was 100% when I
No,
was
same
18,
here.
19. I understood there's a business, but how does the money flow and what level of mental awareness does it take to actually be in business for yourself?
Well, they
I
don't
had no
teach that
clue.
in school. I mean, in college, maybe if you go to a business school. I didn't go to college, so I can't speak on that. But in high school, there's a lot of all the numbers, the reading, and all that stuff, and you can learn math, and you can take electives maybe that'll teach you business. But when I got out of school, I didn't know anything about taxes.
Yeah.
I didn't know, you know, again on taxes. I didn't know when I started my business that there's a quarterly you have to pay. I didn't know any of that.
Yeah, and you don't have to pay quarterlies, but if you don't, you're gonna possibly have a big
You
hit.
have to pay quarterlies, guys. Pay your fucking
That's
quarterlies,
a
or
good
there's a
idea.
problem.
Yeah, that's a good idea for sure, especially if you're taking in income and there's no as an S corp, you can put yourself on a salary and then you're paying taxes throughout the year, and then there is like additional profits if you're good at what you're doing, that then you pay a lump sum on, and there's a way to kind
Yeah,
of
you would know more of
balance
this than me.
distribution, salary, and actual like end of the year
But
draw.
you also have to kind of yeah. So you and I are big difference in this way, which is kind of what we were trying to talk about earlier. You have to you have to pay somebody else's taxes, right?
Essentially, like payroll taxes,
That's what I
yeah.
was gonna. Yeah.
Yeah, so payroll taxes are crazy. It ends up being like 2% of payroll,
Jesus
and,
Christ.
for me, I realized that even with one store, I swear there was some months where I was paying like $5 to $7,000 in 1 month, and when you build out like a business plan and maybe, if anyone's heard of a pro forma, it's like an Excel spreadsheet where
That's what
you
I was
can.
gonna ask. Are you planning for that?
No, I did not plan for that. My pro forma said I had an extra 7 grand a month that I was gonna be making, and then you realize these pesky payroll taxes, they hurt a ton, and at first, they take them out once a month, like on the 15th, but then when you start having so much due, which probably by the time I was even in 2019 with one store, they started requiring me to pay it with every single payroll.
Jeez.
So, yeah, it
So you're looking. Do you do biweekly? So you're
payroll.
looking at biweekly on your payroll,
So
or
I
you
switched to
monthly?
weekly.
Oh
Yeah, so I'm now
shit!
doing weekly payroll, which that happened recently. I
That's a
think
lot of work.
the employees like yeah, that's one thing that I do though is I hire contractors to do a lot of that stuff. I have a really good CPA, Nick Wong. It takes care of a lot of that stuff. Are we on?
Yeah, we just shut off. Can you hear yourself? I can hear.
Check. I'm off right
One sec. Boom, boom. All right, check
now.
yourself.
Check. 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 Yeah, I'm back on.
Sorry,
Perfect.
guys. We just our mics boosted. That was my bad.
So I don't know what the best move is in terms of going into business in the beginning with the whole contractor situation. Like obviously you got to do your books, you have to do your taxes, you probably need to do marketing. Do you hire out a good CPA out of the gates? And that's a tough call. Like I pay $3,000 a month for accounting, which that's a big chunk of
That's an
money.
expense. Yeah.
That's a huge expense. But do I necessarily want to be making these judgment calls? And when you have a lot of daily transactions, it gets very confusing. I
Right.
just never wanted to be on the hook if the IRS calls and they're like, "Oh, you're doing it in house."
That's my big fear. That's my big fear is the IRS, because I'm actually looking at kind of growing my business, but you and Cash kind of made me think about it again, and so I'm gonna wait a little bit.
Interesting. How so?
There's a few actually good engineers that I've been training in town, and a couple of producers that want to start working making music, and I want to expand my business. I don't have enough time to get to every artist.
Oh, so you're already kind of at the point where you don't have time
Yeah.
to do anymore. At that point, I think it's smart to bring people on. I don't believe you would have to bring them on as W-2 employees. You should be able to contract and
Have
then
them as being like their own private contractor.
and then the deal is make sure you should have a contract for the contractor relationship, and basically it should be, hey, I promise to send you at least 3 artists a month, but in exchange, you need to be bringing in the same amount. Like, I'll give
Right.
you a nice baseline, but I'm just not going to carry the load for you. I'm going to give you something that you can guarantee every month, but I need to see you going out, and here's the ways to do it, to meet me in the middle, and here is what the payment is, and here's our split.
Right.
That's a great way to. There's no way you lose in
Yeah.
that scenario.
It's all profit there.
That's a 100% win. So in that scenario, as long as would you have to buy more equipment?
I got yes, to keep all the quality the same. I would, to be honest.
How much for more equipment?
For the same setup, I have probably around 5 to 7K.
So you'd invest 5 to 7,000. To me, when you're making investments that are under $10,000 and there's a lot of upside in it, and you're not married to any employees, you could always rent that space out. That seems like a no-brainer. We were talking about when is it ready to grow a business to like a second location.
Mm-hmm.
In like for restaurants, we were kind of talking about it as in restaurants.
Right.
And when you're doing another restaurant, you're signing up for probably $4,000 a month, 50 to 100,000 a year in rent, a bunch of employees,
Right.
and then equipment is really going for like $100,000 right now. So it's such a
Oh,
significant
Jesus.
investment, and a lot of times restaurants don't return any money for 2 years. Sometimes it loses money. So in that scenario, yeah, you just don't want people that want to grow the business at all costs, which I was that way in the beginning. But I had a chunk of money that I had earned. I remember, which I'll put a number out there, but I remember it was like, and I looked at it today. It was April 2018, and I think my P&L said like $35,000 in that month. And that's not something that's
Wait, in 1 month?
That's not something that's duplicated at all. So Tops is not doing 35,000.
They're doing 5,000 a month. You guys heard it here
The
first.
funny
baby.
thing is, Tucker, even though you just said that, and that's what everybody will remember. Like they're doing
we're
35K
$35K a month, baby.
No, we weren't, and that was the net for that month. It was weird though, because we had cash basis accounting. So February we bought way less food. April, we paid for February's food. So it was
There was
kind of
variables.
There's plenty of variables, but when I saw that, I knew, and we opened July 2019 the next store. So I was accumulating some cash, and then I knew that I wanted to reinvest it and not let that tax year kind of pass. So I just reinvested the lion's share. And at the time I couldn't get financing. So I ended up paying for the first store. I paid 90% of it with cold hard cash, and I lost a lot of my cash at the time.
The good
and then
thing
COVID
about
hit.
that though is when taxes hit though,
You got a lot of depreciation going on.
Right.
And you could buy vehicles cash and depreciate those in the same year. I've done a lot of those moves,
Right.
and it makes
I
sense.
did it last year.
Did you? Tops 3 was a little different though. I feel like I was growing at all costs with Tops 3. We had one good summer after COVID. It took forever to get good, but I was like, we just need a third. Like, I got to keep the momentum going. More stores means more money.
Right.
But that's not always the case. Like, if you don't have money saved up and you got to borrow a lion's share to grow the business, that's probably not a good idea. So even the
Right.
7 to 10,000 to buy more studio equipment,
Mhm.
you should definitely wait. If you have that in cash and you have enough extra
I
cash.
don't have that in cash.
If you have enough extra cash too, so if you were going to drop 7,000 on new equipment, you'd
Mhm.
probably want to have like 15, 16,000 total.
Right.
And that's still a big stretch. I did that kind of with the equipment that I purchased. I cut my cash in half going into winter.
So in my case, you're almost saying wait till next year, even
Until you
though
have
it's
the
a good
cash.
idea.
Yeah, because otherwise, were you planning on financing the equipment?
No, I don't finance anything. I don't do that.
So, I mean, yeah, if
I know
you
I
can-
should, but I don't.
If you can figure out how to come up with the cash and it's not going to put you in a bind, that's not a crazy investment. but you don't want to be taking loans with interest.
Right.
Probably on that amount of money. You want to be able to save up that and maybe double what it costs. And in that
Right.
point, it's definitely no brainer. But in your situation, it's almost guaranteed to pay for itself,
Right.
unless you're paying crazy interest. I think. Fred, what do you guys think of this whole Diddy situation? I wasn't able to have this conversation on the radio very
Wait,
easily.
I do want to come back
Okay.
to the
Do
Diddy
anything.
situation.
Okay.
This is our intermission time. So if anyone
Oh,
needs to go to
cool.
the bathroom or anything, we're about to do yay or nay. But Tucker did bring us into the perfect conversation. So when we get done with this yay or nay, we're about to talk about.
Did he do it?
Yep. Did he do it?
I think so.
So we're gonna get back into that. Let's get some music going. I'm sorry, Tucker.
Thanks for keeping me on track.
No,
man.
you're good. I've just been watching the time. I learned that this week to
This
watch
went
the time,
quick,
man.
It's already an
It's
hour and 5 minutes into it.
This podcast, it goes pretty fast. It's kind
That's a
of,
good sign.
it kind of, I'm not going to say clunky at the beginning, but you get into it. But once you get into it, you look and it's, Tribe is usually like, wrap it up. And I'm like,
Yeah.
are we at the end of this thing already? And
It's always a good show when the time goes fast. You know
so-
that, it's nice and smooth. We got the champ in the chat, Ruben Roundstone, man, BKFC fighter. I think he's fighting again for BKFC really soon. He's a stud.
Rube, man, no joke.
He's been a top sponsored fighter for most of
a
last
no
year.
joke. And he's checking in with us, man. We appreciate you checking us out, my
Here's my
friend.
big question: what is he fighting in, and what sponsor? So I guess he's under you guys. So I was about to say what sponsorship.
Yeah, so
But what league?
BKFC. It's the bare knuckle fighting championship. It's a
so
big deal.
Okay, yeah, it's real fighting.
And he takes a lot of fights in different leagues. But most recently, he was on the I believe it was called it's not the Contenders, but it's the Prospect Series of BKFC. And he did lose that fight, but he put so much grit out that he got another deal to go back and do another BKFC
That's
fight.
why I like
that boy was getting back up.
I like it. That's one of the things that I like about what those guys do as opposed to what boxing. You lose in boxing and you're done. Basically, they
Yeah.
If as long as you put up good fights, they have an understanding that people want to see good fights. Wins and losses are important, but good fights are better.
Someone
right?
with heart and a little flair. Ruben's got all those.
Ruben
things.
he's an excellent
So
couple
Tucker,
more
you're
athlete.
gonna
He's an
you're gonna
excellent
have to take
athlete.
me to a fight because I love fights, but I don't get out often, so I don't.
Yeah, dude, I
go to
got
fights,
I got
but
a
I would-
spot at my table in the next fight. I guarantee
Okay.
you.
So is the Justice League going to be able to come to your table?
Yeah, I think we
Tucker,
should
can we do that?
We
Bring
should do
some
one
mics
that's
and stuff?
just us league podcast. Yeah, we should bring some mics. That'd be
We
dope.
should.
I want to shout out Kenny Rackstad from Copper Onion, the owner of Copper Onion. He's watching
Kenny,
right now.
my friend, how you doing?
You guys got to have him on. He is one of the most
We would
passionate
love to have him on.
speakers.
Kenny, Connor, and Doctor Cannabis guy.
Dr. Weed.
Like
Yep.
he could
That's what we
talk
calling
for
it.
2 hours and just talk to him. He started as a cook and now he owns 2 restaurants. In one of them, he flipped Commons 1882 to Copper Onion, what it is today. And we've watched the success happen in front of us and what it took to do it. He is always in a restaurant. He's one of the hardest working guys I know.
And a guy that there's just a guy that's been able to do that for entrepreneurs coming into the game. That's the information that you need from a guy like that.
He's got it.
He can give you the information on levels of how you not just buy the business, but how you start over here and work yourself to be able to do that. And then what you do when you acquire it, how you build, how you maneuver within that spectrum. So we would love to have him on. I think I think the information that he could, it's the same thing that you do too, Tucker, when we have you on, or with the Vibe, is you provide so much information for entrepreneurs that are trying to maneuver and figure out what they're going to do to start a business, or people that are in a business, and where your perception needs to be. And it's different for, in some, it's, every business or whatever, but there are like core principles that you provide that I think are transferable no matter what you do.
Absolutely.
And
one more shout out to
get
Rusty
into that.
Freeze from Purple Squirrel. He started a business last year. We all kind of inspired him at the Kava House to start this business. And,
my daughter goes to the Kava House
I've seen her there.
all the
Yeah, I've seen her
dang
there.
I want to
time.
say I met the owners. You saw us talking about it 2 weeks ago, and you were in here when we were talking about it when we got
Yeah.
to try the drinks.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I met the owners.
Yeah, shout out to Mr. Aloha and the Cash Father. But yeah, Rusty started a business, Purple Squirrel Cleaning, and we've watched him. He acquired his partner out, and now he's going at it alone. He was scared to take the jump at first, but
we got to
he
get
went
Russ
all
on here,
in, man.
too,
Where
right?
have
We got
I
to get
heard
Russ.
his Where have I heard his ads? Because I've
Probably
heard
on the
Purple
Vibe.
Squirrel. Is that from
Yeah,
you
he
guys?
was
I've
on the
heard
Vibe.
the Purple Squirrel.
Yeah, he was on the Vibe for probably 6 to 8 months or so as he was getting started. And yeah, he's doing a great job, man. Head down, really learning. He was a server for like 20 years, and he went all in on this business. And man, some of the obstacles he's been up against, but the way the way his composure is today is shocking. When you see him, he's a different person, just more calm, collected, a little bit quieter, but there's so much going on in his head at all times that like he's learned a ton.
Hell yeah.
That's fantastic.
So I'm gonna ask you guys what we want to listen to for Yay or Nay today. We got some new songs that we could do, some old songs. I only want to do 3. I think that's kind of what we're gonna hold ourselves to.
Yeah, that's
until we got promotional stuff going on, right?
yeah, I think that's a proper.
So
number.
I have 2 new ones from me. I got one from your guys' favorite, Lil Stackin', or we can do an old one from Black. So hit the comments with what you want. I'm gonna play a Lil Stackins first. If you guys want to hear an old one of Black, we can do that, and then one of my new ones, or we can do 2 of my new ones. So let's run into it. We got Lil Stackin' right now. This song does not have a name. It's still in the it's done. Just the ad libs got cut off at the end. So here we go. It's loading for y'all. It's loading for us too.
That's the
That
internet
pesky
reinvestment.
internet.
I said, nigga tried to bully him cause his age, nigga, we ain't going for that. Nigga think he Debo, lil' bro, chopped him down like a lumberjack. I don't give a fuck, nigga, if you bought my shit, better bring it right back. Or I'ma send them guys at you, and they gon' aim at your head. You see me in that scully, better mind your business, bro. Me and my niggas like kids, nigga, all we keep is toys. Put up in the Porsche, she said she wanna ride my horse, hit her from the back, make her sore. I tried to kick the bitch out hours ago, but that bitch keep asking for more. I think I need a money counter, count all this money with my hands sore. If you can't do just what I say, what the fuck I need you for? Dirty drink, we pouring foes. Out of town, we throwing foes. I take you deep in that water, nigga, and I show you how to flow. I didn't put a mirror on, now these hoes be on the go. I remember them days they count me out, now they saying that I'm the go. I remember them days when I asked for your number back then, you would tell me no. Now you pull up with no hesitation, offer a nigga some throat. I remember them days I was sleeping on shake house, stacking up my dough. Remember, I'm the one that told you trapping ain't dead, these niggas just bitches and hoes. Niggas ain't taking no risk, my point was 10, but I bet it all on 4. Niggas ain't standing on shit, they ain't even got no legs to stand on business. Nigga, I'm like the Avatar, catch me in your kitchen. Water with the way I whip this shit, I swear to God, I don't see no competition. Nigga thought it was funny on my bread until he came up missing. I'm in this shit all by myself, ain't got no opposition. 500 for this mirror hat, 500 for the shirt, 1,000 for the jeans. My bitch got 20 in her purse. I been trapping all damn day, I ain't even go eat, but I popped the perk. I'm in Houston with a bad bitch, she tried to wrap me under her skirt. She have a sound right now, try to take her to the crib and put in that work. If that bitch can't make 100,000 a year, that shit ain't even worth it. Don't move too fast when I'm serving you, that shit make me nervous. I keep my Glock up on my lap just for this purpose. I don't know how to do it, I just do it. Nike, I need a check. I kicked her out, she was acting bougie, she wanna drop no neck. I post up all night at his house.
Merchandise.
All right, y'all. So I definitely need a yay or nay on that one. That is the new Stackin' song. We're still working out a name for it. That one should be out in the next couple weeks.
So what do you got on that, Tuck? You have a nay or yay on that?
I would say yay. It's a little bit too it's too hardcore for me though. But I would still give it a yay.
St. Louis nigga.
Oh, he's from St. Louis.
Yeah.
Okay, so that actually works then. I was going to say coming out of Billings, it might be a little much for Montana.
Not from Billings. He's like Black. He's not from here.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so for St. Louis. So you're working with artists across the country.
Working with everybody from everywhere. He actually takes trips here to come in the studio now.
Wow, that's cool, man. That's super cool.
Well, so what do you got?
Of course, it's a yay for me. That is literally my favorite rapper besides maybe Black. And I love all you rappers I work with, but those are my favorite that I work with because I relate with them so much.
So I have to play the role of Tribe.
Here we go. Let's hear it.
Tribe is the Russian judge, so like Tribe doesn't play. So I'm gonna have to give it a nay.
Okay.
I felt I heard of some good things within it. I don't know if it's a done product yet.
Yeah, and it is, but the ad libs weren't finished,
Okay.
and that was the only thing.
It sounded like a little Dirk song or something, right?
that's my critique. So
Man, I always got a fucking excuse. I need to start playing only finalized songs. I need to stop having excuses.
Yeah. So well, you got 2 yays and a nay. I mean, you're on the upside of that, right?
That's facts. My wife,
Maddie gave it fire.
Not Tribe's wife. Everybody, not Tribe's not here. My wife gave it some fire.
So Tribe and Prince share a wife.
No, the
really?
fuck we don't. He says we do.
That's a thing now. Like we he's a, we're
Polygamy.
we're a regular family here.
Tribe has
we're sharing
everybody's
wives
wife, I guess.
So
hey, but
Tribe
everybody loves Tribe.
he's like a teddy bear, man.
Yeah,
I mean, come on, man.
He is.
You ain't gonna be able to cuddle better than him. Come on now.
Can't go wrong.
So
we got 2 yays and a nay on that one, and a fire in the chat. Any other opinions in the chat, I guess? And we're gonna get on to the next one real quick, and I'll be watching the chat. So this next one is me.
You know what? I did have a request.
Let's get a request.
As the guy,
I have my stuff plugged in.
No, not just request that we're going to get something.
Okay.
I had a request from individuals that they would like a more variety of music. They would like some country, some rock.
Yeah, I need it sent in, man.
I'm just.
Message Danielle.
They don't do music,
I'll talk
but
to
they were
Dan in
like,
studio.
What could differentiate
right
you guys as nay or yay is that you guys are doing more genres, and I think that was you're right. I know that it's based on people presenting their music,
and true. This is my section, so that's good stuff. I need to know. You know what I mean? So
we had Aja, we didn't really get to nay or yay any of her stuff.
I can go download it and
Casey,
send it to myself.
We need to probably nay or yay some of her stuff. So we need to get some of that up there.
If she's in here, she can say that which one I can do. I have 2 more songs that I can do, so I'm gonna do one of mine, and then if someone has a song they want to send in or something that I have that they want to do, let's just do it. We got a few more minutes in our intermission, so I'm gonna get. But I that is something that I needed to know. So I think I have some stuff that I can pull up on my own, but that's not something that we wanted to do.
Right.
The people need to send stuff in.
Right.
And
remember, people, that you need to send. This is not we're not just hip hop centric, and we're just doing it. We're nay or yay is a cross genre. Send your music in. We have a cross section of people that watch this and listen to this podcast. So make sure you guys are sending all that music in, and we will definitely give you an opportunity to be heard.
Hell yeah. With that being said, we're going into our next song of yay or nay. We're going to do Oxygen. This is my new song. It was picked by our friend Tucker over here, just by the name.
The Prince.
Yeah. Oh, yep. So we're going to hit Oxygen real quick, hit yay or nay. We're about to get into some more topics. We got some good stuff to go over today. Here we go with Oxygen.
This is a world premiere.
It is.
World premiere.
There you go.
I'm just going to say Tribe like the other one more than this.
Here we go again, all these games on my head. Why you tripping up all some more shit that I said? I'm only trying to make you happy again. Yeah, here we go again. Now I'm screaming at my best friend. I'm not even mad, baby girl, you know I'm stressing. I already know that I can't do this again. Feels like I need oxygen. So hear me out, be near me now. You've been lost in the wind, but I've been in the clouds. No, I don't say it often, but girl, I need you now. And when you ain't with me, I'm feeling like I need oxygen. I know that you ain't think that I'm gon' miss you when you gone, and I ain't got the words to say it when I tell you that you want. And that's why every single song I gotta put you on. That's the only way that I know how to tell you you the one. I want a little Henny, you want some Patron. Yeah, I'll buy you whatever you want. We can sit and talk it till the bottle gone. Let me hit it later on. I want a little Henny, you want some Patron? Yeah, I'll buy you whatever.
That's enough of that one. It's out on SoundCloud if you guys want to go listen to it. It's Prince Locket. Just came out a couple days ago.
I say yay.
Is it a yay? There's not too much autotune on that one?
I like it, man. I think
Hell
it's a
yeah.
vibe. I like the melody aspect of it.
I think you may have got your first yay from Tribe right there.
Dude, he actually likes the other one, which I'm going to play because nobody else sent anything in. But I think he probably likes both of these ones, yes.
I think so. So you get a yay for me. Good job.
Oh, yeah. I forgot
job.
I forgot your Tribe today. You're the...
I'm Tribe. I'm the Russian judge.
You're the
you know,
skeptic.
I'm the skeptic. You know,
Bruh,
it didn't have too much auto tune in it. It wasn't auto tuned, over auto tune. What's he call it? Over
Yeah,
auto. It wasn't
over
over auto tuned. So I thought it was pretty decent.
I liked it too. I like the melodies in there, Prince.
Oh yeah, I appreciate that. All right, we're gonna get into another one. I need to see your guys' comments though. I need to be seeing some yay or nays, so we because this is eventually gonna make our playlist. Within next year, we'll have a set playlist that we're playing kind of in the background and stuff. So let's get some yay or nays in there. We got this next one. This is called "That's Me." It's by me as well because nobody else sent nothing in. But like I said, I can always pull songs, Fred, if we need a different genre, if we need a different vibe. Like next week, we can just go through and pick some songs before.
Okay.
But yeah, let's get this one. This one's again me. Hell yeah, baby. Damn right. Appreciate you, Fred.
Life been moving too fast, I gotta hold up. Anything I'm doing, man, you know I gotta show up. Put the pedal to the metal, make it gas, you know I'ma blow up. And they already know that it's me. I got a iced out roller, I'm a iced out stoner. They try to tell me bring it down, but I could never slow up. Only way to go up, that's why I still pull up. But they already know that it's me. Yeah. Hit the mall and spend a couple bands for my fam. Roll it up, blow it out, then I hit that shit again. My lady get a little worried about all the money I spend. Get a bag, spend it quick, now it's gone in a win. I'm spending hella money, but I'm always quick to make it flip. In 2023, I went and bought a house and bought a wheel. In 2024, I ain't gonna be worried about that shit. Cause 2024, I'm gonna be making this shit my year. Iced out roller, I'm iced out stoner. They try to tell me bring it down, but I can never slow up. Only way to go up, that's why I still pull up. But they already know that it's me. Life's been moving too fast, I gotta hold up. Anything I'm doing, man, you know I gotta show up. Put the pedal to the metal, make it gas, you know I'ma blow up. They already know that it's me. I got a iced out roller, I'm a iced out stoner. They try to tell me bring it down, but I could never slow up. Only way to go up, that's why I still pull up. But they already
Visualize the video. You see Prince in the desert somewhere, and he's running from something. We don't know what he's running from. And yeah, I could see it, man. Yeah, I like it. I like this a lot. That's a good one. So
I like it too, man. Do you think music videos are dead today? Would you ever invest into a music video?
I would invest into a music video, but I'm also a person that doesn't want to be seen too much. So like I would invest, but not a whole bunch. There's some artists that would love to do videos, you know, and I think videos is
we do have a great video deal whenever they're ready.
Yeah, is one of the biggest forms of promotion you can have is people actually seeing you. You know what I
feel
mean?
like reels are more important. Like you're better off getting reels of the music video.
I don't even have TikTok, so I would know nothing about that shit.
Dude, reels are popping at this point. Like even for business use, I don't put out much regular video anymore.
Right.
I don't know why that is, but I guess on YouTube it works.
Right. Yeah.
On YouTube it works.
Yeah.
But on Facebook it does not do too well. Like
it doesn't translate the same way that it does on YouTube.
The reels go way
but
better.
the reels go, and it's the same on Instagram, I think, too, with the reels.
And I want to touch on something about our show. Just because Blaze, I know you were joking, but I feel a certain type of way when people say that kind of stuff. Not a certain type of way about being mad, but it makes me feel a little bad. It's not that we don't like you, man. We love you. We love the music. We love the drive. There was those songs, you were a newer artist, and they weren't exactly to the level that, I don't know.
Did you play them or you just heard them?
We played them. You were here.
I was here. Was I a thumbs up or thumbs down? I was a down. Oh man.
Blaze was a new
Sorry,
artist.
Blaze, man. Sorry,
Great
Blaze.
Falls artist.
Okay, Great Falls artist. Yeah, I do remember that.
But that none of that was to put you down. It's all criticism, and that's kind of what we pride our show on, is being honest. And my other hosts were honest, and I like your music, and I see potential, and so I'm not just talking to you, I'm talking to everybody. When we play music, it's something that we enjoy doing and that we want to give our input on and kind of show artists some.
How old is Blaze?
2 years younger than me.
Okay. One thing I've figured out over time, man, is when you first get criticism, it stings, and sometimes your first response is to be defensive. But
he really wasn't. He did take it good. It just kind of hurt him, and this comment was obviously a joke.
Well, that means he cares,
Yeah.
you know. So the fact that he cares enough that it does hurt him, but over time, as you get the criticism in, you're still going to always care, but you're more careful about how you respond to the criticism. I mean, I get criticism at least once a week on what we're doing.
Probably every day you do. I mean,
hopefully not daily, but
not bad
definitely once a
criticism,
week.
but people just giving you their insight.
I would say even bad criticism once a week, but we're seeing thousands of people a week, you know, so it's bound to happen. And I try to take accountability immediately for the criticism, whether I agree or not, and then try to come to a solution. Like, how do I fix this, or how do I respond to the criticism?
And to be honest, I think he did do a great job of that. The session that we had was a day after we did that podcast, so he had seen it, and that session was probably his best session that he had ever had. Everything.
Well, he had a, you know, he had some feedback, right, from people that aren't invested in just deteriorating him for no reason. I think that as an artist, he can take this, and somebody told me this once upon a time, you know, consistency stabilizes, but criticism elevates. If you figure that out from a music standpoint, you will always probably be a better artist.
Right.
You know, when
then he has a chip on his shoulder, something to prove.
Not even a chip. It's just it's almost like a learning curve. He learned something, and you know,
I mean, you want to be better
work
at
on the radio, and I work with music daily, and you're on the radio daily. Fred used to be on the radio daily and does music himself and works with other artists himself. All of us know something about music, so it's not, you know, taking it necessarily. Well, take it to heart, but not necessarily taking it to heart. But
it's not easy criticizing.
Yeah,
even people think, even with Tribe, people he comes off as sometimes like
he's in here right now. What's up, Tribe?
He just shoots it right. It ain't easy on him either. Like, Tribe has worked with these guys, like, but Tribe wants these guys. And he knows
all of them personally.
He wants them to be better, and he understands that. And he understands that sometimes this ain't gonna get it. And do I really support you if I'll allow you to keep doing that, and not say something to you like, yeah, there's probably a couple things that maybe you should look at changing.
And Blaze, I know you weren't tripping. That's why I said I know you were joking. It's just I don't want other people to see that and think that we don't like them maybe or something just because of our, you know what I mean? So I know you were joking, and that's why I was saying I was laying it out there, kind of what went down after that, and you know.
I'm seeing that we have our sponsor in the comments.
We do
in the chat line
Mr.
right
Hensel.
there. We want to give a shout out to Mr. Craig Hensel and that fabulous show that we had last week with him.
We want to show appreciation.
And we have to show appreciation to the new official sponsor of the JustUs League podcast, Golf Clap for Hensel Law. Thank you, Mr. Craig Hensel.
So are you ready to get into your topic for today? This is the one I was telling everybody to be ready.
Oh, my God. So, you know, some people had a great week. Clearly, some other people didn't have a great week.
Thank you, Michael.
Mr. Sean Puff Daddy P. Diddy Combs,
man,
apparently had a very, very difficult week.
They raided
Two
all
of his
houses.
properties, or three of his properties, were raided. Allegedly, he was sex trafficking. There was some potential narcotic dealing involved in this.
And we looked it up the other day, right? Do you remember the main thing that you were saying was not a thing, and it was?
Well, it was Homeland Security that went in there and did it. That was the part of the Department of Justice that went in. What was I saying?
We were saying that we didn't know if it had to do with the underage, and we looked it up, and it was, I don't remember exactly. Was it 17-year-old something? Story came out.
I researched it a little more, and I think he was having his sons. I think he was having his sons.
He was using his son as a mule to bring in
younger girls.
he has a young son,
That they're rich,
that
filthy rich.
rich. The young ladies like the way that young man looks, and he was bringing, using his influence and his father's influence and capital to be able to bring, allegedly, let's say allegedly, we don't know
but
this,
bringing them to those parties. And I don't want to speak too much on it because I only did the reading, but Tucker actually was researching it. Do you remember where he was taking them to?
To the
Yes,
freak
Tribe,
offs?
we did hear it.
That's what I was
the
waiting for you to
freak
say.
offs?
The freak
Yeah,
offs.
no, he was taking him to these things called a freak off, and then this little Rod guy who was a producer
Allegedly,
for
sorry.
him, all allegedly. But
Also,
this,
is this the guy that the Stevie J stuff with him?
Yes.
I
yes.
think so.
Oh
Yeah,
man,
with Lil Rod,
Stevie J,
what
brother,
they-
what's going on with you?
what they're doing is they were he was around, he was working on the Love album for P. Diddy, and he was one of the producers, and they'd go to these parties, I think at hotel rooms actually, and they would bring like two pretty girls into the hotel room. They would basically get naked, and then the producer would start to hook up with them, and then he'd wake up around a bunch of dudes.
They were
Around
method
yeah.
they were method acting, trying to come up with the Love album. Is that
I guess that must be what it was.
a lot of
man.
love
No,
going
but
around
they-
in some
They'd
of these
slip 'em
rooms?
drugs.
I couldn't say. I
then
can't
they
say it's
slip
that
you
funny
some-
though, because
they slip-
imagine you go in there, right, thinking that you're gonna be with a few women, right, and
And
they
end
slip
up-
something in your drink. It's your friend slip something in your drink, right?
And in my
And
best
you wake up and then you got 3 dudes around you.
Yeah.
and in my best Stevie J impersonation, slipping him the beefcake.
But it's a bad
Man.
situation. So I just wanted to know what your guys' thoughts were on that, because I've only been hearing little bits and pieces. So I just kind of want to know.
It's tough. One thing I was watching last night that I was curious about is all the people that were at the parties where this allegedly took place, or a lot of it took place. Why don't you hear anyone around him that were there? No one's speaking up to his character right now. I don't think anybody
Mm-mm.
notable has came out and said a single thing in his defense, vouching for his character, or hey, I was at these
But
parties.
that might have
as
to do a lot
mischaracterized
with people not wanting to be
in the mix.
yeah, like
I-
thrown into that.
Yeah.
You know,
I think
was
there
there.
are. I think this rabbit hole is very deep.
Yeah.
With Hollywood elites, or just media elites on that level, or whatever.
Yeah.
And we'd heard all these stories about satanic cabals. We've all heard the stories about the stuff these people are supposedly doing. And this is one of the occasions to where a light was shined on to it, and it's illuminated a little bit to us that there may be, where there's smoke in this, there may be some fire in this. And then when you get into Sean's name being on the Epstein Island list,
Yeah.
he's on that
It's
list.
on it.
Yeah,
on
he's
that
on
list.
the list.
Wow.
And Jay-Z's on that list, and there's a lot of guys that were on that list
There's
that
a
are
lot of
quiet,
people
and
on
I
that
think
list.
for good reason. I'd heard some story about they have a Epstein light island called Hip Hop Torture Island. There's another one that the hip hop guys go to. They're doing basically the same stuff or whatever. I think they found Meek Mill in a cage out there or something.
I
That's
saw
a joke.
picture of
That's
that.
a
I didn't know if
fucking
that was
joke,
true.
That's a
guys.
joke,
Yeah.
guys.
I saw a meme
Fuck.
of that actually.
That
It
was so
crazy.
funny.
can't
I
say
laughed.
that.
I laughed so hard when I see that. I was like, "Oh, they finally
That's the
freed Meek."
picture Tribe showed me when
Oh,
we were
yeah.
in there. That we
Gosh,
started laughing
Meek
at.
Mill is in a bad spot right now, man. It's not looking good.
Because it doesn't look good.
No.
Usher is in a bad spot. It doesn't look good.
Usher's in
with
a
some of
bad
the
spot
stuff.
for a different reason though, because he was the young one there.
He was,
Yeah.
yes. I mean, and the stories of, I mean, have you guys ever seen the YouTube video of Jamie Foxx telling the story at the night that he hung out with P. Diddy?
No.
No, there's a
Go
lot
back
of,
and watch
no,
it.
there's a lot
Wow.
of, yeah, watch that one. and
Jamie
then
Foxx tells the most credible story I've ever
who's
heard
the
about this.
Who's the rapper? I know you've seen it. It's like the same
Jadakiss
thing.
told one. I heard.
Was that
I heard
Jadakiss where you
Jadakiss-
said that there was
I heard-
guys that they're
I
kissing
heard.
booty?
I heard Jadakiss tell one, and it was somebody else. It was Jada and Exhibit. It was Jada and Exhibit,
I was gonna
and they
say,
told
yeah.
this story.
Real as fuck story too.
Jamie Foxx is the funniest one because he said Jamie Foxx. This is even before Jamie Foxx was Jamie Foxx. So Jamie Foxx would show up when he was trying to get on and had a camera. So he would be taking the pictures or whatever, and P. Diddy apparently noticed it. And so when Jamie would show up, he would take Jamie Foxx with him. So Jamie Foxx said they would go to all these places, and they'd be like, hey, Playboy, come over here, take, Sean's stuff. Playboy, come take the picture or whatever.
Yeah, I want you to go to South Bronx and take a picture with a midget with these balloons.
What is y'all with midgets, nigga? Oh my god!
This is the thing
that's just what he said on this.
Wait, what?
This is the thing that was wild, though. This is the thing that was wild about what Jamie said is he said at some point in that night they showed up. Oh, and they were in Miami too. So he was down there with them in Miami. And at some point they showed up at a club, and he said he looked around and he said it was nothing but dudes,
nothing
like
but niggas.
kissing. And I'm not, if that's, what you do, that's what you do. But that's not the image that P. Diddy portrayed.
No.
Very heterosexual, very strong, very female.
Puff Daddy is a pimp name.
And he said they're in this place, and Sean is participating in this, male on male activity in here. And
apparently early on, one of the CEOs of the music business, they got him in. There was a rumor that this old guy who is now passed, that him and P. Diddy were lovers. And this guy actually, to verify everything, he came out and claimed he was bisexual later in his life.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, so it started with that guy.
I mean, and you hearing stuff. I watched some the other night, kind of delving in this, like before you want to talk about a topic, you want to kind of go and not just deal with this topic, but you want to see how many branches are on this tree or whatever.
Yeah.
And I seen this stuff about, Matt Rife, the comedian guy.
Yeah, Matt Rife with the underage girls.
Wild stuff on Matt.
Yeah.
What is that about?
Man, there was another comedian that was telling this story that him and Matt were at with some Hollywood executives. And
But
I don't
Matt's
know if it
younger
was the
himself,
net.
so let's
I
keep
don't.
that in
Yeah,
mind.
it is, and impressionable, and you got a lot of these guys that are older and prey on them with money. So, in no way, shape, or form, and he was younger. So this is before Matt Rife was Matt Rife too, right? And that comedian guy said that him and Matt were in this room with these Hollywood execs, and then the Hollywood execs basically were like, "Hey, do you guys want to make it in the industry? Netflix specials, all this other stuff." And they were both like, "Yeah." So they were like, "Well, you're gonna have to play some trombone tonight. You're gonna have to play some sax."
And Tribe, yes, we did.
And
yeah,
and what happened was the dude was like, the one guy's like, he was like, "Hell no." And he said before he got to the door to leave, he was looking back like, "Let's go, Matt." And Matt was apparently started playing trombone.
Playing with
the
flute.
He said, and he vouched for it. He said, and that's why Matt, that he is who he is. He did that. He said, this is going, and he was like,
allegedly,
this is what you're having to do to get on in the industry now, because these people are sexual predators on a high level, right?
That's wild.
We look at sexual, and we've always heard stories throughout history of men of power being sexual predators and leveraging that and blah blah blah. And we've all heard these stories, right? Typically women have typically been the ones that have had to bear the brunt of this throughout history.
Men's stories lately.
But now it's like these people are out of hand. They're like, what's the girl from Nickelodeon, Amanda Bynes? Like
I heard a lot about that. She's different today, man. She's
not even the same human being.
Yeah.
Like
a lot of people.
You don't know
Samantha McCarthy.
Yeah, you don't know, but you know something happened. Like you don't just end up like that out of just the blue. Something happened to her.
Yeah.
The one guy from the Just Raven show, the real crazy
Orlando
kid,
Brown.
Man, Orlando was wild.
He is still wild.
The thing is, I used to think he was crazy. I don't think he's crazy anymore. I think
some of the stuff he says is crazy.
There's a high level
of
truth in some of the stuff.
Yep.
Because there's some of that stuff is like, man, that can't be. But now seeing all of this, some of that got to be true.
Right.
Do you think there's a possibility that all the allegations against Puff Daddy, P. Diddy Combs, it was just innocent fun? Possibly. Were people seeking out drugs and women and ended up with men, or were they seeking out whatever they want to and they're happy to be here?
No, from the story that at least we heard that we read, no, because wasn't the first one to come out his ex-girlfriend saying that
Cassie,
they were doing some stuff, and there was times that she wanted to and times she didn't, and she would wake up and be have
Yeah.
stuff had done to her.
Yeah.
I would say
So it could have been in good fun, but
we
not for all
live
the
in
victims.
America, and the greatest thing we live in here is you are innocent until proven guilty. Even though I would actually say that you are actually guilty until you're proven innocent. That's really,
Especially with how much
if you
people
hear,
talk.
how many times have you heard something about an individual and been like, oh, he didn't do it, or is there's a level of he probably did that
Yeah, that's
shit,
probably true.
right? So that's just the nature of it, and I understand that we're supposed to be a society of rules and laws, and in those rules and laws, one of the from a judicial standpoint is you are innocent until proven guilty. So there's a semblance of me on that level that probably needs to give Sean more, not to say that he's innocent in any means, but just to, with our constitution and how we operate, we probably, until a court definitively can
Let justice play out.
we I should take more of a middle road. It's very hard though, because some of the allegations are very, very damning, and we had already heard stories before this
Yep.
from other reputable people, superstars, of Sean's questionable behavior.
How do you think it plays into it though when it's Sean P. Diddy Combs against the state of Florida, when Florida has a lot to gain in that? I believe they'd be able to seize his assets if he's found guilty. Is that true, or is that not how it works?
Yes.
They can seize his assets.
That's a lot of money to seize.
The weirdest thing about the whole deal with and apparently Sean fled to a non-extradition.
That wasn't true. He was at Top Golf yesterday.
So he was, and then I seen a video with him and Stevie J together somewhere. So I don't know.
I saw that
you
too.
seen that too. So
Yeah.
I don't really know, but allegedly he had fled to a destination that didn't have extradition or whatever.
I think that was just somebody going to spring break on his plane.
on his plane.
Yeah.
But I don't know, because I don't know how that works. I mean, I would assume, I don't know how that works. I mean, maybe everything's frozen. I don't know.
I do just want to answer Tribe real quick because he's making sure our show is running smoothly. Yes, we did yay or nay, and we had good songs today. Sorry, Fred. Get back into it. I've been looking at this comment, and I know he's trying to make sure we're smooth. So,
and that's what he did.
Do you want to go to the California stuff?
Yeah, do we get off the P. Diddy stuff for a little bit and change up the conversation?
P. Diddy wants us to get off the P. Diddy stuff right now. So
hop off his fucking sack real quick, and we'll hop on something else.
Apparently, a lot of people, he was making them hop on it. So a lot of producers apparently. But I'm
gonna let Tucker bring in these topics. We talked about 2 topics about California on the radio show that I wanted to talk about today. That you're knowledgeable on.
The first one was kind of interesting. I'd be intrigued I'd like to see other sides of the argument. I've heard one side against all this on my show, but so California, there is obviously a lot of immigration happening there, a lot of illegal immigration. They're right on the border, and people are going in and out of California like crazy, and it's stressing the system quite a bit, especially the healthcare system. So their governor, Gavin Newsom, just announced that they are now going to get free healthcare for the illegal immigrants. And there's not for veterans, and a lot of people don't have it. I would love to hear the other side of this, because there has to be another side.
So they're gonna, and you got to walk careful, because with this, and this is the reason why, right?
No, we don't. It's our show. Tell them, Fred.
And with this,
there's a political answer here.
Yes. You see, there's some, you got to maneuver through this. So there is something to be said. There's a human, there are immigrants that are coming here for whatever they're coming from, and they don't understand the political nature of all of this, right? We all do, because we live up here, and we understand the consequence of an out of control immigration system. So we get all that, right? And
we didn't get that 6 years ago, though. The understanding was we need to have open borders because everyone deserves a chance to become an American.
And really, though, if you're honest, so I lived in the Southwest of the United States for a number of years. I lived in Las Vegas. And it was a widely known secret. Most folks in California know this. People in Arizona, New Mexico, Texas, Arizona, some places in Utah, all of these states, there's this unwritten kind of. Basically, what would happen is we used to live down the street from a Home Depot, and every morning, you'd get up and do whatever it is you're doing and drive past this Home Depot,
The South Park
and you
skit.
would see hundreds of immigrants just standing in the parking lot.
Yep.
Wow.
And these people, which were not immigrants, might I add, I won't say who they were, what they looked like, but they would pull up in trucks and flatbeds and load these people onto these things and take them, and these people would build suburbs all over the city.
Wow.
Right?
So construction business.
So this has been a gentleman's agreement that has gone on for a number of years or whatever. And my suggestion was, right, and you can, people that have construction business, they shoot this down. What I'm telling you is the way to do it. It's the correct way to do it. It'll work. Any business that uses an illegal immigrant gets the death penalty. You cannot do business in the United States ever again.
Well, because it's a legal business.
Every time I've ever suggested this, guess who puts up the biggest
Who does?
Anybody that builds anything.
Yeah, anybody that
right?
Shit.
Because they understand cheap labor equates to high profit margin.
Right.
Right? And you ain't going to get most Americans to take wages that are far below market value for equivalent jobs. So there's a lie that we live with this, and I am more conservative. I admit that, and I don't have a problem with that, but I'm honest about this in a way that sometimes my side is not honest with, right?
Mm-hmm.
Immigrants aren't coming here for health care, free health care only. They're coming here because they make a higher wage doing the job, and we leverage that in a way that allows us to build things and proliferate business with a lower overhead and a higher profit margin, because we all know the 101 of business is to do what?
Make profit.
Make as much money as you can, right?
Right.
That's why I believe the immigration problem will never go away.
Right.
And they will play lip service to it, right? And now it's if there were 100% Republicans in the Congress right now, there would still be an immigration. Those folks own businesses. Their friends own businesses. That's a fact. So I'm not saying the Democrats aren't atrocious, because they are on this. They are not reputable when it comes to this in any shape or form, right? And they're strictly doing it for votes. That's why they're doing it. They don't care about those people. I don't think a large portion.
Do you
of them
really
do.
think they can vote though?
Yeah, well, that's what that was kind of going to be my next question.
I do think there's quirkiness with that.
How does that work?
I'm not sure how they're doing it exactly.
Because you have to put your social to vote, don't you?
I just know that in the last election, we went up about 30 million votes or something like. It was some crazy.
Fred, I don't vote, but what do you have to put in to vote?
So you're supposed to have an ID, a birth certificate, some semblance that you're a citizen, right? You're supposed to be able to prove this, and then you're supposed to be able to vote. The uniqueness of the election last time is it was the first time, I think, in U.S. history it was a mail-in vote election. So everybody, no matter of putting in what they call an absentee ballot.
Right.
So an absentee ballot is the same thing as a ballot. Is basically you vote at home.
Yeah.
That's what it is, right? Everybody got the opportunity to do that last election. Everybody got a ballot in the mail, right? I don't think it's a coincidence that the numbers were so out of whack. Joe Biden got 82 million votes, right?
Because it was more accessible to vote.
Because you could vote,
It was just anybody.
and whoever got those ballots could vote. Who filled them out? There's nobody to tell you who filled them out, and you just send them back. And now people are like, well, obviously they had to be, citizens that they got a ballot or whatever. Well, that doesn't mean the person that filled it out is that's what they
Right.
wanted to do. There's no way to prove that, right? So maybe it was on the up and up, but I have to assume that just process of percentage, that there was something that was not square on some of that stuff.
Right.
And now, do I know for a fact that would have tilted the election for Donald Trump? I don't know that. I'm not making that argument. I'm just saying that with the proliferation of mail-in voting, we don't have a good enough handle on elections to be doing it at that level yet. I just don't think that we do.
Right.
Well, how do you think the Trump lawsuits are going to pan out? There's like 92 or something. Number one, will he get convicted on any? Number two, will he push them past the election? Number three, will he possibly be getting sworn in from jail?
So this is what I honestly think, and when you think about the legal system, the legal system is set up for things to be drawn out as long as they can. So if Trump is president 4 years from now, we will be talking about him going to court because they'll just keep dragging it out and filing appeals, and they'll just I don't think he's going to anywhere personally. I
think he's in trouble. Like he's gonna have to pay some financial shit, but I
Yes,
don't think he's going
because
to jail.
that's how we leverage punishment in this country, is through finance,
Do you think
monetary.
Do you think that was fair though? I mean, it was like $500 million. And the weird part is
I don't even know how they came up with that.
Wasn't it
no
about
coincidence.
it was actually stuff that he was hiding, wasn't it? It was taxes he wasn't paying. And he ended up
it
paying
wasn't
off for the
taxes. So
businesses.
what it was is he was getting his properties appraised and
Okay.
leveraging
Yeah.
against them. And the bank actually did an appraisal on them, but there was something about the way that he was reporting for the appraisal that was a little inaccurate. I think the biggest issue is some of the buildings that they were valued based on full tenancy, like being
Yeah.
full and completely leased
So
out.
that's where I had it wrong, where I was saying taxes, because I just knew it was what he had reported was wrong.
He basically in there's something to be said about he's very optimistic. He knew that he would lease those out, but at the time that the appraisal was done, it was not fully leased.
Yeah.
But there was no real victim in it where the bank actually got their money back, and they seem to be happy.
So it's all over
interesting.
lies then.
But it's
not lies, but it's all over
this is the thing,
misrepresenting.
though. But
Reporting,
this is the problem with this thing, right? And this is the bigger issue. It's subjective. This stuff goes on all the time. Either you're going to do everybody that does this or nobody, right? People have been doing exactly what they're alleging he does, right? They're not the problem with this is it's singular to him, when if you deal with most of those New York developers, they all operate in this in some aspect. So you're picking winners and losers in this, and that's what this stinks of a political witch hunt.
Right.
It's not that people are saying that he's not guilty. That's not what they're saying. They're saying you're picking this with him, but you're not. There, a bunch of other people do this too.
Right.
So you're gonna, you know what I mean? Like that's,
yeah.
Are you gonna get everybody, or what are we doing here? Or because of the nature of who he is and what he's trying to do, and the nature of where it's at. Where's the stuff coming out of New York, right?
Yeah. Jack Smith.
Who's in New York? What's the political apparatus in New York? It ain't the people that support him. I tell you that, right? Yeah. So all of that stuff has to be taken into account, whether you like him or not. I'm not defending or demonizing him. I'm just saying that there has to be a level of logic when you look at some of this stuff, and honesty, right? You are allowed to walk and chew gum at the same time. You don't have to like somebody to know that the way that this is being carried out is not fair. It's not within the spectrum it's not in the honor of what the country, or how the country was created, and how some of this stuff is supposed to be levied. So there's an unfairness to that, right? And I guarantee you, if it was you would feel differently about it.
Yeah.
You would say the same thing I'm saying. we all do this. What do you mean? Like this was business. Now you say, people say, well, it's illegal and you shouldn't this, or you know this and that or whatever. You can do that on so many things that people cut corners here, do things here. You decide this. Does the IRS get every person that cheats on taxes?
No.
Oh, either you get them all or you get none of them. And I'm not saying that. I'm just saying if you're gonna demonize him for that, you gotta do the whole system then.
Right.
That everybody's been operating under this same thing, which is coincidentally what he told Hillary Clinton in that debate. What did he tell her in that debate? He told her that, right? She was like, he cheats, he does this or whatever. And he said, yep, you and your husband and your friends do too.
Yeah.
And then he said, she was like, well, you're a cheater or whatever. It makes you something. He's like, no, it makes me smart because whatever. And people were they cringed about it instead of realizing that what he was saying, if you want to fix what I do, you fix the system, not pick the individuals out or whatever, because the system, somebody else can come right back in and do the exact same thing or whatever, right? And then he dropped the bomb on her head, which I believe she lost, right? When he said this, he said, you had the White House and Congress for the last 12 years, 2/3 of it, for 12 years. If it was a problem, why didn't you fix it?
Right.
Who do you think, biases aside, just a purely speculation, who do you think will take second place in the election? RFK, Biden, or Trump? I phrased this question a little differently than you thought I would.
Who will take second?
Who will be the runner-up?
So this not is Biden.
This
out of
is
those three.
This is what I really think, right? I believe there's somebody's going to convince a third-party right-wing guy to run, to siphon votes from Trump. I believe this, right? I don't know if it's going to be Nikki Haley or
we got 3 more minutes
or a Mitt Romney or somebody like that. But I'm big on numbers. I'm a political guy.
Right.
Tucker.
Yeah.
I'm really into this stuff, right? I don't really look.
You're
at
a politician.
Yes, I am. I don't really look at wins or losses. I look at margins. When you guys look at politics, don't look at margins. Margins will, within a reasonable place, put you in what's going to happen in an election, right? The problem that Trump has is a third of the voting, they voted for somebody else, right? And when these people were in these exit polls, they'd ask, well, if Nikki Haley wasn't here, or Trump was the nominee, would you vote for him? And they said no. That's a problem, right?
Right.
That means you have a third of your own people that ain't going to vote for you. So you have to figure out either to siphon votes off the other guy, which I don't know how you do that with Biden, even though Biden has his own built-in deficits with this, because there are things that have been going on in the country. Inflation, they talk about Bidenomics or whatever. Well, that means Bidenomic to me means $10 bread.
I think it's the most unfavorable rating of any president since Jimmy Carter.
Right.
Which that's a crazy statistic.
Called being weak.
So who do you see 1, 2, and 3 out of those 3?
So
let's say nobody else.
I honestly think Trump squeaks it in a squeaker, right? I think let me take this back. As long as there's not another person flanking his right, I think he squeaks Biden. I think that RFK siphons enough off.
But RFK takes third.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I think he takes and the reason is that in the two-party system, it's not set up for an outsider to come in. The only guy that I've ever in life that had a shot, right, and he got his ass whipped, but it was Ross Perot, right? And what people don't realize about Ross Perot, the Dems love to talk about Bill Clinton. Do you know what the percentage of Bill Clinton, what his percentage of vote that he got in the 92 election?
I have no idea.
37%. Think about that, right?
37.
We live in the 50% era that we normally know that a guy that polls at 50% is probably going to win the election. Bill Clinton had 35% of the vote in that election. George H.W. Bush had 35%, and Ross Perot had the rest.
Wow.
Them votes didn't come from Bill Clinton. So if Ross Perot doesn't run, George H. Bush wins the re-election.
Wow.
Right.
You think that could set Trump up for some trouble with
That's
RFK?
that's the third party dynamic. The third parties they're not set up to win, right? You don't have two parties that are that powerful that I seen a number. It's like you got to raise $2 billion to be president. Think about that. You got to raise $2 billion, and you out here saying that I'm going to make sure that these poor people eat. But you got to come up with $2 billion to even be in this thing, right? Are you there for them? Who are you there for?
Yeah,
That
that's
Right.
crazy.
I guarantee you, Sandy, that goes to work every day, has 4 kids, and has Medicaid, he ain't up there for her. It's not, he's going to use her to get up there. He's not. She can't help him
Right.
from a money issue. She can't help him. So I think watch for the third party. If nobody flanks Trump from the right, he probably wins a squeaker.
The independent party is the third party, though. RFK is already in that
He's a third
position.
party, right?
Yeah,
And he has name recognition too.
he
comes
does.
from a dynasty family, right? But Teddy Kennedy shot that in the foot when they found that girl in that car.
Mm.
Right.
So the whole Kennedy dynasty kind of torpedoed after that. They were set up to kind of roll, and then the heir apparent which was JFK Jr. had the tragic accident with his wife and his mother-in-law in the plane accident. So
Right.
that diffused Camelot. So
And we're running up on the end
Alrighty,
of our
guys.
show. I did want Tucker to leave you guys with a question that we can talk about next time. It was about
No.
California's electric
Oh.
bill.
no.
Oh yeah. So the interesting thing in California right now is they just proposed a law. It's not in law, but to make it so, to compare it here to Billings, where your electric bill is not based off your usage of electricity, but it's actually based off your income. So you could be using like very little, but if your income's high, it's divvied up. The electricity bill is going to be divvied up based on income, not based on usage. So I'll
Right.
leave you with that.
Yeah, so let's get your thoughts on that before our next
Why
episode.
do people before we go? Listen, for half the price, I will kick you in your balls every day. You don't even got to move there. People that live in California now are out of their fucking mind.
That's what we were
There's
trying to
no
say, but
what
they
do you
couldn't.
want to live in Cali? You know why people move to California? Not because it's a great place, but the idea of what California has been marketed as.
Yeah.
That's why they moved there.
That's
Is
true.
is that called? Before we go, I just want to know: is that called socialism or capitalism? Because I don't know quite.
It
the
ain't
difference.
capitalism.
Yeah, I don't know the difference.
That'd be more socialism. That'd be like a social welfare program. Typically, if the people that make more income are subsidizing the ones that don't in the electricity market, that would be more of like a socialistic
Okay.
vibe for sure.
Right.
But all right, we were gonna leave you guys with that thought. I want to hear your comments in the chat over the next week. Let's see what you guys think about that, and we will start our next episode with that. I'll let our official host Fred lead us out of here.
So we appreciate you guys tuning in to the 9th episode of the Justice League podcast. We have traveled just an extremely far distance in the short amount of time that we've been doing this show. If I'm being upfront and completely honest, I am well beyond where I thought we would ever dream of being right now. I'm trying to kind of still figure out what this thing is going to do and what our footing is with this, because it keeps changing basically weekly of what this thing is doing. So very thankful to obviously Bullwhackers. We got to shout out to Bullwhackers, Smoking Vapes, all businesses that are associated with Bullwhackers, because without them, it would be very difficult for us to do this podcast in the way that we do it. So I want to make sure that we give them a shout out first and foremost. Right under that is we want to give Craig Hensel and Hensel Law a shout out, because he took a chance on us as being the official sponsor of the podcast. So we want to make sure that we give him his just due, and we will definitely make him proud. Before I get into the thank yous of my circle, I want to allow you guys to, just send out some thank yous, and obviously Tucker and Tops. I think, Tucker, we can finally lock you down on being the sandwich sponsor of the Just Us League podcast show.
I like it, man. I'll bring some sandwiches for sure.
I'm hoping, and this is what I want to push in our meeting this week, but I'm hoping we have a little something more for Tucker. So
we always have something for Tucker. Tucker's a great partner.
I appreciate you guys for having me on today, man. It's always a good time. And don't forget Tops Delivery.
Yeah, we always kind of forget this, but give some locations for Tops before we get out of here, just because we always do our shout outs. I want you to shout out what you're doing.
4007 Avenue B, right off Shiloh and Grant. And then we have a new store at Grant Road. It's right on the corner of Grant with a T in King Avenue. And we have one up in the Billings Heights as well at Airport in Maine.
And you guys do catering for businesses, correct?
Yeah, we cater a lot for businesses. So if you know anyone that is a lunch planner, anything like that, hit us up. Give us a call, 406-969-1043. Tops with a Z. Or hit up the website.
Hell yeah.
Just the point is, hit them up.
Yeah, for sure.
And my shouts outs is always the same. It's going out to my woman, Madison, at home, taking care of the kids, letting me do this stuff. Shouts out to Fred and Tribe for always teaching me how to do this broadcasting shit. Shouts out to Tucker for you being here and helping us out. And
thanks for
like I said, there's more that I'm going to be wanting you to do. And shout out to Bullwhackers Bar for having us here.
All right,
absolutely.
Boys.
I really want to give a shout out to my children. It's having kids is great. Sometimes they're a great anchor. Your life ebbs and flows. It's better than some days. They keep you grounded. They keep you not so far ahead of yourself sometimes, and that happens to all of us sometimes. So I want to give them a big shout out. I also want to give the community, the Billings community, who supported us when we did the Wilburn show locally. And I want to give our newfound worldwide audience that has been tuning in from around the country and world on this little podcast that we do here in this little spot called Billings, called the Justice League podcast. So I want to give them a shout out. And next week, we will be back with another episode of your Justice League podcast show.
We'll see you guys next week.
We out.
Peace.